Hey there. Welcome to For Dragonflies and Me. I am Jean Roman and I'm your host here. This is my YouTube channel, and I am going to be discussing one of my Gardening 101 series today. And what we're going to discuss today is how to plant and care for strawberries. It's a wonderfully easy fruit to grow. Even if you don't have a garden, you can actually grow these in hanging baskets. You can buy them that way. So you can have them seasonally. If you have a big garden, you can have a big, beautiful patch. But either way, strawberries are easy to grow, and I'm going to show you how to do it today. So before I get into the topic, I want to ask you to please subscribe, smash that subscribe button, smash that like button, and definitely leave me a comment. I love your feedback. If you have any tips and tricks that you think I forgot in this episode, please let me know. I'm always a willing learner because if we're gardeners, we share, right? Gardening is like this wonderful family of people who love to play in the dirt and watch things grow. So we learn from each other, and that's what I'm here for, is to teach you what I know and hopefully learn some things that you know. So as always, I've created a beautiful PowerPoint for you guys, and I'm going to kind of talk through it. I'm going to read what I write and then kind of go into more details. So let's get rolling. I'm going to share my screen with all of you now. And here we go. There we go. So again, I'm Jean Roman. Welcome to For Dragonflies and Me, tips and tricks for the home and garden. So again, welcome. Today's topic is Gardening 101, how to care and grow for strawberries. Plus, I didn't mention this, I'm going to direct you over to my blog from here, and you're going to get my very famous and popular homemade freezer strawberry jam. And this recipe can be found in my cookbook, Lovingly Seasoned Eats and Treats, which I will provide a link. You can purchase this beautiful soft cover spiral bound cookbook, almost 1,000 recipes on almost 500 pages. 100 of those recipes are mine alone. And you can purchase that in either the soft cover version or a downloadable PDF. So let's get rolling. If you have followed me for any length of time, you know I always love to start my blogs, my podcasts, my YouTube videos, everything with a quote related to either the cooking or the gardening end of what I'm discussing. So today's quote, aren't those strawberries like beautiful? I'm here in Michigan, friends, and strawberry season is going to be here soon. June is generally when we have strawberries here, and there is nothing like a fresh Michigan strawberry. So Jules Dervaes says, in our society, growing food ourselves has become the most radical of acts. It is truly the only effective protest, one that can and will overturn the corporate powers that be. By the process of directly working in harmony with nature, we do the one thing most essential to change the world. We change ourselves. And I'd like to add that one little thing to that quote, and we grow our own food and feed ourselves. It's this crazy notion anymore. And coming in the upcoming month, I'm going to be talking about local food. I'm going to be interviewing different people in the local food movement in my May podcast and blogs. So keep posted for that. And if you are an advocate for local food and farmers markets, you're in the right place, because we are sisters and brothers in the movement. So let's keep rolling. So strawberries are a super easy and delicious fruit for the home gardener to grow. Even if you don't have a garden, you can grow these beauties in a container. You may not be able to overwinter them if you live where the snow flies, if you're growing them in any type of little container. But in warmer climates, you bet you can. So strawberries are also a fun thing to have the kids help you grow. I'm going to be talking about how to incorporate children into the garden and doing children's activities in an upcoming blog. So be sure to check that out. And, they love to harvest. Kids love to pick and harvest the things that they grow. And strawberries, they can pick and eat. So got to make sure they don't eat them all, especially if you want to make a pie or some jam. But like I said, I'll be sharing with all of you my recipe for homemade freezer strawberry jam at my blog at fordragonfliesandme.com today as well. So be sure to head over there and get lots of more information on strawberries. Be sure to subscribe there as well, folks, so you don't miss a beat. So You want to give a try at growing strawberries. You're going to head into that world and you're going to have a great time. But unfortunately, you just don't know where to start, right? Well, it is super easy, way easier than you may think, and I'm going to provide you with step-by-step instructions here today on how to grow and care for strawberries, and also how to select the right variety for your area and harvesting them. So, whether you're an avid gardener or a beginner, but you got a green thumb, today's episode is going to provide you with all the information on what you need to grow, what you need to grow healthy, vibrant strawberries and enjoy the fruits of your labor, no pun intended. So, grab your gardening gloves and let's get started. Doesn't that pie look delicious? Oh my goodness. So there is just harvesting some strawberries, and that one's not quite ripe, but we're looking at it. So you need to first and foremost, when you're deciding on growing strawberries, is you want to choose the right location. Do you have a yard? Do you have a raised bed garden? Do you live in an apartment with a patio balcony? So all of these factors do contribute to how you're going to plant. So, first step in growing healthy, productive strawberry plants is choosing the right location. Strawberries thrive in full sun and well-drained soil. So, even if you're doing them in a container, you still need to have that full sun for at least 6 hours a day. You also want to look for, if you're going to garden in your grow these in your garden, you want to look for a spot that has, like I said, at least 6 hours of direct sunlight per day. You really want to avoid low-laying areas where water tends to collect, as strawberries are susceptible to root rot and other fungal diseases. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in an upcoming slide. But the location is very important. Raised beds, in my opinion, are the best location because they're elevated and you're not going to get puddles of water. But you also need to consider the size of your strawberry patch. If you're planting just a few plants, you can tuck them into a corner of a raised bed or your regular tillable garden. And even if you grow them in containers on your patios, which is another great, if you have a condo or again, just a balcony to an apartment, you can grow them in containers as long as you get that sunlight. But if you're planting a larger strawberry patch, you really want to be sure to choose a spot that's easy to access and has plenty of room for expansion, because strawberries send out runners, and we'll going to talk a little bit about that, but not into great detail. Whoops. Okay. Not bad. Sorry about that, everybody. Let me go back up one more time. That is my bad. I hit it too fast. So anyways, here we go one more time. Finally, you need to consider the climate of your location. Strawberries grow best in cool, temperate climates, and they may struggle in hot, dry conditions. So if you live in a warmer climate, look for varieties that are adapted to heat and drought, or consider growing strawberries in a shaded area or using shade cloth to protect them from the sun. So I know that may sound a little contrary to, like, well, you said they need 6 hours of sunlight. 6 hours of sunlight, not in Texas. Or Arizona. So you want to maybe make sure that they are getting that indirect sunlight, but the heat as well. So strawberries are best in the spring, which is June, when they're growing. So there are different types, and we're going to touch on that. So now I will jump ahead in my uh, screen here. So you also need to think about the soil when you're planting your strawberries. Once you've chosen your perfect spot for your strawberry patch, it's time to prepare the soil. Strawberries do prefer a slightly acidic soil with a pH between 5.5 and 6.5. So it's a good idea to test your soil before planting. You can purchase a soil testing kit at a local garden center or online for very reasonable. There are ways to add acid to your garden bed, especially if you have a raised bed. You can dedicate one, because these are a perennial fruit and they're going to come back every year. So you can really design that raised bed or container to grow strawberries and have that perfect soil. You can add amendments to it. So first step, though, is checking your pH level in your soil. So once you've done that, you want to prepare the soil by removing any weeds or debris from the area. Then dig in plenty of organic matter, such as compost or well-rotted manure, which you can buy in bags at any landscape store or garden center. This will definitely help improve the soil structure and provide your plants with the nutrients they need to grow strong and healthy and provide lots of strawberries for you. So I want you to notice on this photograph of the strawberry, the dirt. So I'm going to hover my mouse over it. So right here, and see how the soil here has no mulch. So I'm going to touch on that later, and I'm going to go into greater detail, but I just want you to remember that picture. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can always back up and check it out again. But your soil is particularly, if your soil is particularly heavy or clay-like, you may need to add some sand or perlite to improve the drainage, which again, you can buy at any garden center, and it is easy to amend your soil and incorporate that in by simply tilling it with a little fork if you're working in a raised bed. Be sure to mix the amendments thoroughly into the soil to ensure even distribution. So again, if you are gardening and raised beds, which I am a huge advocate. If you follow me at all, you know that I always advocate for raised beds, better for your health, better for the garden, because you're not stepping into the soil. And you can really avoid any type of clay types of soil when you are putting your own dirt in the beds. So moving on. Now you've got your location, you've got your soil amended to grow those beautiful berries. Look at that one. That's just perfect, isn't it? So let's plant them now. It's planting time. So there are two main types of strawberries. So there's June bearing, which what I was just mentioning, that's your spring berry. And then there's ever bearing. So June bearing strawberries obviously produce one large crop in late spring or early summer, while ever bearing strawberries produce smaller crops throughout the season. One thing this is comparable to is if you saw my podcast, or I'm sorry, my YouTube video and blog on indeterminate and determinate tomatoes. Remember, determinate tomatoes are like your June bearing. They are going to set fruit one time with a heavy production, and then the indeterminate are like your everbearing. They are going to just keep producing strawberries throughout the season. So the one thing though with the everbearing is the berries don't get as big. They are just as sweet. Again, that really depends on the variety that you're using or you're growing, but those are a couple things to consider also. When you're planting your strawberries, start by digging a hole that's large enough to accommodate the roots of your plant, and make sure the crown of the plant, the point where the roots meet the stem, is level with the soil surface. So if you are familiar with planting peonies, think along the same lines. It is totally opposite of planting asparagus, where you want the roots or those little crowns down almost a foot. So strawberry, those little crowns, the little pokey parts, have to be right at the soil surface level for them to grow appropriately. And then you want to space your plants out about 12 to 18 inches apart, depending on the variety. So like I always say, friends, what do I say? Read the tag descriptions, read the plant descriptions, read the seed packet descriptions. It doesn't lie to you. Follow those things like the Bible, because those are your gardening Bible. You also want to water your plants thoroughly after planting, and be sure to keep the soil evenly moist as your plants establish themselves. It's important that those roots get established, because that's the first thing your plant's going to do before it does anything on top, bearing fruit or a lot of leaves and stems. It's got to establish that root base. So it's a very good idea to add a layer of mulch around the plants to help conserve moisture and suppress weeds. But that's not the only reason. So remember the picture I showed you with a little bit of dirt and no mulch on the soil? That is what we're going to be getting into. So mulching, and I recommend mulch before you water, and I'm going to tell you why. So mulching your strawberries. This next step is so important. So you need to see all the straw along the bottom of that berry in that picture. Be sure to mulch all around your plants with fresh, clean straw, or even grass clippings, leaves, pine needles. I'm going to talk about that. You don't want any water to splash dirt up onto your strawberries. Let me repeat that. You do not want, when you water or when it rains, any of that dirt to splash up onto your strawberries. So if you've ever gone strawberry picking at a strawberry patch, a you pick, you know that they always have their beds mulched. And if they don't, I would not recommend going there. But a professional you pick strawberry patch is going to have all of their berry plants mulched with straw. The reason is because you don't want to wash strawberries. If you wash strawberries once you get them, like, yeah, wash a peach, wash an apple, wash a pear, but you do not want to wash strawberries or raspberries. Why? because they're considered fragile fruits. And once you wash a strawberry, it gets soft and mushy. So if you've done this in the past, I recommend buy organic. Then you don't even have to worry about it. I do not recommend washing strawberries because of that reason. They get mushy. If you're going to make jam and you see some dirt on it, you can do that, but you technically do not need to wash strawberries. Pick and eat. If you buy them at the farmer's market, eat them fresh. They're delicious. And that's why they also don't last long in the fridge, because they're considered a fragile berry. So blackberries, raspberries, strawberries, any berry like that, that even mulberries, they have that soft outer texture. They don't have the tougher skin like a blueberry, where they last way longer. And so that is the reason why. So be sure to mulch your plants before you water. Very, very important, because if you have a bunch of dirt on your strawberries, you don't want to eat dirt. You got to wash them. Then they get mushy. And even washing them and eating them, you can just tell the difference. Buy some and test my theory. Let me know in the comments. So mulching your strawberry plants is an important step in maintaining soil moisture as well, and suppressing weeds. So always, like I'm talking about in my raised bed classes, I'm always saying once you've planted your plants and your seedlings are about 6 to 8 inches tall, you want to mulch. Again, weed suppression and moisture control. And for strawberries, making sure that dirt doesn't splash up on your beautiful berries. So using a layer of straw, clean, fresh straw, shredded leaves, grass clippings, or even pine needles can help keep the soil cool and moist, and also prevent weeds from taking over your strawberry patch. So be sure to apply the mulch after planting, but before the plants start to produce runners, which I was talking about earlier. So you want to apply a layer of mulch that's about 2 to 3 inches thick, being careful not to cover the crowns of your plants. So that's key. You want to go all the way around your plant, but not where those little crowns are coming up. So oh, strawberry season. So now we want to talk a little bit about controlling pests, and any types of diseases in your strawberry patch. So like all plants, strawberries are susceptible to particular pests and diseases. And some of the common pests that affect strawberries are slugs, snails, aphids, and spider mites. Diseases such as powdery mildew, verticillium wilt, and gray mold can also be a problem in some areas. So to control pests and diseases in your strawberry patch, start by practicing good sanitation. Remove any dead or diseased plant material and dispose of it into the trash, not your compost pile, because it will compost in, and any spores, especially from powdery mildew or any type of fungus, it's going to grow. It's going to stay in there. You just gave it the perfect habitat for growing. So you want to keep your garden clean and free of debris, and be sure to rotate your crops each year to avoid soil-borne diseases. Not so much in raised beds, for two things. So if you have a strawberry patch, obviously you're not digging them up and moving them to another bed. Also, tomatoes. Tomatoes were always my thing, and lettuces as well. Tomatoes, studies have shown, and that if you keep growing tomatoes in a healthy, disease-free environment in the same raised bed or the same section of your garden, they actually grow stronger, and they also are tastier each year. So try it. I've done it for years and I think it's true. Might be just a psychological thing, but try it and let me know how it works for you, or if you have experience with that. So a couple other little tips and tricks here, especially for slugs and snails. So diatomaceous earth. For the organic gardener, if you simply sprinkle a little border of diatomaceous earth around the perimeter inside a raised bed, or around the perimeter of your strawberry patch, or other plants that slugs like, they will not make it across the barrier. So diatomaceous earth is a natural element that's found in earth and in the soil, and is crumbled down. But the pieces in the diatomaceous earth that we can't see with the naked eye actually are very sharp shards, like glass. So when a slug or a snail crawls across it, it literally slices its belly open and they die. Gruesome, yes, but what do you want to survive? Those beautiful berries or that slimy slug? I'm taking the strawberries, folks, so it is what it is. But also powdery mildew and verticillium wilt, those are both diseases that happen often with overwatering. So be sure if you have a raised bed or a regular tillable garden, you can actually lay oh my gosh, totally having a brain freeze here. The hoses, drip lines and whatnot, and then you're never watering the plant. I often tell my listeners and my guests at any classes that I'm teaching, don't water the plant, water the soil lightly so it doesn't splash up, especially if you're doing that in the morning when it's the best time to water and fertilize. You definitely want to water the soil, not the plant. And then you have a lot less likelihood of disease. Another tip with that is don't harvest in the morning, especially when there is the dew from the morning dew. When you are inside a plant and you're rubbing it and all that moisture, it can actually create more fungus issues. So just a couple extra tips and tricks there. Now, you've planted your strawberries, you have tended to those little babies, and they're finally starting to develop and turn that bright, beautiful red. It's time to harvest. So that is one of the best parts about growing your own strawberries or any fruit or vegetable. It's the harvesting of that sweet, juicy fruit. So when your berries are ripe, they should be a bright red and firm to the touch. Gently twist the stem to remove the berry from the plant, being careful not to damage the fruit. So if you're growing June bearing strawberries, you can expect a large crop in late spring or early summer. And ever bearing strawberries will produce smaller crops throughout the season. And you can just, that's more for fresh eating. So if you want to, this is another difference between the two, is take into consideration what do you want to do with your strawberries? Do you just want to have, strawberries every other day, just a little side dish with your meal for breakfast? Or do you want a crop of strawberries because you want to make freezer jam, you want to do some preserves, you want to make a pie? That is another determining factor of which variety you choose. So I definitely would choose a June bearing if you want a heavy crop to produce something with. But if you just want to fresh eat them, take the everbearing and enjoy the season with strawberries. So be sure to harvest your berries regularly, as leaving them on the plant can attract pests and other diseases. Also, like I always talk about harvesting, if you harvesting them, especially with the everbearing, is telling that plant, oh my goodness, we got to keep producing because we got to produce seeds and plants and runners. And so when you stop harvesting them, the plant thinks, okay, time to produce my seed now. So especially in tomatoes or any other vegetable crops. So take that into consideration as well. You want to harvest them regularly. Now, preserving your strawberry harvest. If you have more strawberries than you can eat fresh, there are plenty of ways to preserve your harvest for later. You can freeze your berries, make jam or jelly, or even dry them for a sweet, crunchy snack to throw in a granola or on top of yogurt. So freezing your strawberries is really easy. They want you to, I do recommend washing and hulling them. I have done it without washing them. Again, it's a personal preference. If they're dirty, you definitely want to wash them. But if they're not, I would just take a little strawberry huller or a knife and cut that core out, slice them in half, and put them on a baking sheet, or you can leave them whole and freeze them into their firm, and then throw those berries into freezer bags. I recommend thinking about what you want to do with those berries. Are you going to make smoothies? Are you going to make milkshakes with them? I recommend taking 2 cups or 1 cup and putting that into a freezer quart size bag. If you're planning on making pies with them, then I would take 4 cups and put them in a gallon size bag. So a quart is 4 cups and 2 cups is a pint. So usually 1 cup is 8 ounces, 2 cups is 16 ounces. So think about that as well. To make jam, I'm going to provide you with a recipe at my blog for that. Super easy to do that. You can do one to where you water bath them, which is canning. And then I'm going to give you a freezer jam recipe, which I think is tastier. I have done both, and I love to combine, like do a mixed berry with blueberries, raspberries, and strawberry. Super good for a jam or a jelly. But for freezer jam, you do not have to you don't have to have any canning equipment, just the containers that you purchase for freezing, or you can save different plastic containers, yogurt containers, whatever you buy thick, like sour cream or whatever. The choice is yours. Drying strawberries is another easy way to preserve your harvest. Simply slice your berries into thin pieces, dry them, remove the stem, of course, and you can use that into a dehydrator, even in your oven at a very low setting. So dried strawberries make a great snack. And like I said, in addition to granola, or throw them on your yogurt or in a cereal. So lots of great things you can do with strawberries. Troubleshooting some common issues that happen with strawberries. So again, even with the best care, strawberries can still encounter some issues. Some of the most common problems that include poor fruit set. So this can be caused by a lack of pollination, high temperatures, or over fertilization. And so that it goes back to checking your soil pH and making sure that it is balanced and doing what you need to do to amend that soil. Leaf spot. So this fungal disease causes brown spots on the leaves and can be controlled with fungicides and good sanitation practices. So you can buy organic fungicides. You can also use dish soap in diluted into making some soap, warm soapy water. That does also help as well. Verticulum wilt is a soil-borne disease which causes yellowing and wilting of the leaves and can be prevented by rotating your crops and planting disease-resistant varieties. So again, strawberries are a perennial crop. You are more than likely not going to want to move them. So preventative care, like preventative medicine, is your best option here. So I often tell some of my gardening friends who have had issues with different fungus is drench your soil with a fungicide. You can buy organic fungicides, and you want to drench that soil in the early spring and the fall, and then do maintenance throughout the season. But if you encounter any problems with strawberry plants, you can be sure to, you can be sure to identify those issues and take corrective action as soon as possible. Your local garden center or cooperative, we have MSU, Cooperative Extension Services, so your local college can provide guidance on identifying and treating common strawberry problems. So, growing strawberries is for sure a fun and rewarding hobby that can provide you with so many fresh organic fruit all season long. So by following the tips and techniques outlined in this blog and YouTube video, you can plant and care for your strawberries with confidence and enjoy the sweet rewards of your labor. So happy gardening, and stay tuned for my next episode in this Gardening 101 series. I'm going to talk about rhubarb, how to plant it. I'm also going to provide you with a video of how to properly harvest rhubarb. There is a proper way. So friends, be sure to subscribe. If you found value in this episode, smash that subscribe button and smash that like button. And then also leave me a comment. Give me some feedback on what you think. Do you have any other techniques that you use for growing your strawberry patch? I'd love to hear about them. And to see more blogs and YouTube videos like this, be sure to subscribe here and visit me at my blog at fordragonfliesandme.com, and you won't miss a beat. So thank you so much for joining me here today. If you enjoyed this episode, please, again, be sure to visit me at my podcast, my blog, and of course, my social media platforms for additional daily inspiration for the home and garden. Until next time, friends, be sure to eat fresh, shop local, and have a happy day. Thank you so much for joining me today at another episode with Jean Roman at For Dragonflies and Me. Have a great day, friends. And wherever you are, I hope it's sunny and you can be in the dirt. Take care.